What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Small Biz Rescue Podcast. I've got Bernard Powell, or he might call it Bernard, and he used to fly planes. He started his first successful business at 18, and as he puts it, strategically closed it. At age 22, he got his business and merch into a large retail chain, Mida 10 megastores, and then 2 years later into Bunnings Warehouse. And that was, his company was only 2 years old at the time. So some huge wins and success. If you're listening in the US, then that's going to be like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. And so that's super impressive. And so, Bernard, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Hugh. Thank you very much. Really excited to be here. And I've been following your work, and it's fantastic. I love your show, love your energy, love what you're doing. So yeah, I'd love to share some hopefully some value for your listeners today, and I'm really excited about having a chat with you. So bring it on.
We're super excited, and you are, if you can't tell from your accent, you are not in the States, correct? Where are you out of?
Yeah. So I'm right down the bottom of the world, guys. So if you've never been to little New Zealand, it's not Australia, by the way. I've talked to so many Americans that think New Zealand and Australia are one country. So don't get that wrong. So yeah, we're right down the bottom of the world. So down under. So come and visit us. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. Only a few people. There's 5 million or something. 5.2 I think right now. 5.3 maybe. Anyway, it's tiny and a beautiful country. It's got everything you could wish for from a scenery and natural beauty point of view. So we'd love to see you down here, Hugh. Come on. Actually, you live here, right? Or you came here for a bit?
I went to visit. I would have been like 4 or 5 years old, so I barely remember it, if I remember it at all.
Anyway, we'd love more Americans to come here. So, great place. Great place to visit and live.
That's awesome. Yeah, so, and basically one of the things that we're bringing Bernard on for is he is, near and dear to my heart. He is a manufacturer that makes things for people who build houses. And so that's Premier Bricks, Premier Roofing. There's a whole bunch of other products, I believe. But he generally sells to contractors, and contractors build or renovate properties. And that kind of goes in line with me. That's just coincidental. But he also runs Premier Business Academy, which is a consulting company down in the New Zealand area. And they basically teach Kiwis and some Aussies how to run their business better. So super excited to have you on, and incredible stuff that you've already accomplished in your life so far. And you're quite young. So.
Well, yeah, I don't think that. But anyway, we're on the journey, and we're still trying to achieve more. So I wouldn't say we've achieved much, but we give it a good crack every day. Get up, go hard. Every day's a new battle, right? Get out there and try and kick some goals.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so let's go a little bit way back into your early life. When you were young, did you grow up wanting to run your own business, or did you talk about it at all, or how did you get what as a young child growing up? How did that even work? Or so many people don't even know.
Yeah, it's great. So great question. So I was the oldest of 8 children, or still am, of course, because that doesn't really change, right? So, and so I guess I was the experiment, and mum and dad tried all their parenting skills on me, and I don't say they did a great job with me, but they did an incredible job bringing up 8 children. So hats off, mum and dad, you're amazing. And love them to bits. And they, so dad, from as early as I can remember, he started his own accounting business, his own accounting practice, from an office at home. So kind of, and after work and on the weekends, he was always working around we had quite a big property, or big section, 3/4 of an acre, with lots of gully around, and lots of blackberry and thistles, and so he was always working to improve the property, and he got the house built when he was before he got married, and then before he had children and everything. So I kind of had a great role model with dad, and mum, of course, she was amazing, bringing up all these kids along with dad, and so both of them have incredible work ethic, and always have from when I remember. So, and then with the whole, being interested in business, from very young age, as soon as I learned about money, I was like always trying to, get it and do something with it, or in the early days, I guess, get money and save money, and always trying to actually, set up little, playing shops with the brothers and sisters, playing, I'll sell them this and that. So yeah, we were, I guess, most of the kids were pretty entrepreneurial, and then as soon as mum and dad would let me, we were out there trying to sell, do roadside stalls selling lemons or grapefruit or stuff off, fruit off our trees or cucumbers out of the garden, so always trying to have a crack at earning a little bit of money. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, I don't know if that's what you're wanting to hear.
No, yeah. So early on, so it sounds like early on you had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. Your whole family seems that way, or
Yeah. Well, I was always asking Dad, like, what can I do to earn a bit more money? Like, and then there's things like washing the car or mowing the lawns, or he was very generous, very kind, and always trying to think of creative ways that I could earn a little bit of money and earn a few dollars here and there. Or it was so yeah, always, ever since I can remember, is trying to earn a little bit of earn some money and put it away. And they opened bank accounts for us when we were really little, really young, like 5 years old, 6 years old. Open our first bank accounts and start to save some money in there. Yeah. Anyway, so hats off to mum and dad. They were amazing. They still are.
Well, that's incredible. That's incredible. So what kind of led to that like hustler mentality? It sounds like normally the question I ask is like, were you a hustler or a floater? Clearly, it sounds like you guys were hustling. What kind of led to that mentality? Or was that just the way it was and you didn't know anything different? Or was there something in you that drove them?
Yes, I guess like in the community where I grew up and the friends and family that we had, like my grandfather was a maxillofacial surgeon. He worked really hard to get his degree. He was a top surgeon at our public hospital here. He had his own private dental practice as well. So always sort of, and then friends and family that we've been surrounded with, like, and I didn't know it at the time, but nowadays there's so many books we read that say, you're the result of the 5 people you hang out with the most, or that you spend the most time with. And maybe that's 10 people, maybe that's 5 people, whatever. You could argue the toss over that, but whatever. And I guess that being around people that were, trying to get ahead, trying to provide for their families, people that are generous. Like, I've always thought of successful people as unselfish people, and there's a common notion that we still bump into a lot today, that successful people are selfish and that's how they got successful. But in my experience, it's completely the opposite. Everyone I've ever met, and including my parents and everyone in family, friends, relatives, is anyone that's successful in business have been the most generous people I've ever met. They give more to charity. They give. They give their advice. They give their money. They give their time. And so the more success you have, there's one of my pet actual topics actually, is that the more success you have, the more you can give to others, and it's an unselfish mindset, because it's very hard work to be successful, right? You know that, and so does your family and people around you. Like, if you want to be successful, it's hard work. So it's an unselfish mindset, because you're providing for your family and providing for the more success, the more you can provide for others. Anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Already talking too much. Sorry, you're gonna have to interrupt.
No, that's perfect. No, I think you're kind of right there. A lot of people have this mindset, or they have this image of like a wealthy person or a rich person, and they think they're stuck up, they're an asshole, whatever it may be. And for the most part, I've never ever encountered that. Right, in the media, you see it on maybe the news. You see it. That's like the spoiled people, but I've never ever found that to be the case, right? Usually, if you're a self-made person, you work very hard to get there, and you're just a normal person, or maybe just a selfless person. And like you said, you gave your way there. Like my mom, I remember growing up, she gave away as much as she could. We would buy homeless people, a bunch of food, and offer job. I mean, crazy stuff like that, where most people just didn't. They were too worried about themselves. Huge.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll
awesome.
flash forward a little bit. So you kind of established you grew up from an entrepreneurial mindset as a family. What kind of made you want to get into business or start your own business? I mean, 18's pretty young. I wasn't that responsible at 18. I don't know that I want to start a business then. So what kind of made you do that?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. In hindsight, like, I made, thousands of mistakes, and lost myself a lot of, and my dad a lot of money. But we had good years and bad years, but like, it was, I guess, a learning process. One thing I'd say is, so I left school early, went and worked at a nursery, a plant nursery, and a couple of guys there, John and Dave, who were running that, great guys, and they were, so they were really good to me, really patient. I was probably what you'd call a, how do I explain it? Someone who didn't really like listening to the boss kind of thing, or
Yeah.
I mean, in saying that, at school, I really appreciated my teachers, and in fact, some of my best, my best mentors have been some of my teachers through school years. they were just incredible, and I really, really got some great results from them. But I ended up leaving school about a year early and then working in this nursery, and they gave me lots of responsibility, which was amazing. And then, let me manage, part of the nursery. And at one point I was kind of managing the whole thing and responsible for bringing in the revenue. So I had to get on the phone and learn how to sell flowers and different types of plants to supermarkets. And so that was a really good experience. Like, I just basically got chucked in the deep end, and I didn't really have much training. It was just like listening to John on the phone or listening to Dave on the phone, and that was about it. Then I just got on the phone, and you gotta, I guess one thing I always say to people is, like, if you're gonna get ahead in life, like, life rewards action, and you got to do the things that you're scared of. So, like, most people are scared of picking up the phone and ringing a customer, and I was 16, 17 picking up the phone and bringing in blimmin', half the revenue for the company, at the nursery. So that was, I'd just get on the phone and ring until I'd sold all the boxes of plants that were available that day. I'd ring every supermarket in the district. So that was really good experience. I had no idea, but I just built these relationships and pretty quickly learned how to ask for the order, which was really, really powerful, really helpful for me. And then, I had to organise the fertilising and the spraying and the weeding and the clipping and all that sort of stuff. And then I thought, and then I was like, I really wanted to, and then they sold the business to another guy, and I was like, I didn't have, much of a connection with him, and he was favouring some other salesperson he'd brought into the business, and I was like, hey, I'm not being appreciated here, so I'm tapping out. So I tapped out, and Dad helped me, buy a little truck and some tools, and away I went. So it was like, yes, I always wanted to, have a business and grow my own thing, and then, employ people and help grow people. So, we'll talk about that a bit later, but that's kind of where it started.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So, I'm hearing you're a 17-year-old at the time, 18-year-old, whatever. And the cool thing is, because I put myself in my own shoes at that age, I would be intimidated at calling people, asking for money or whatever. But you have such an advantage as an excuse as, maybe there's a 25-year-old listening to this. You're just following what needs to be done. You're just a cog in the wheel. You're a cog in the machine, and you can learn so much. Like you said, you learn a bunch, and then they had you organizing, logistics and picking up the fertilizer. That's huge. So what was that first business that you ended up starting yourself at 18? You said your dad seems to
cool. So just touching on what you said, I actually probably didn't realize the lessons I was learning, or I didn't really, like, picking up the phone in my naivety or my innocence. It was like I was actually responsible pretty much for the revenue of the company, and I actually didn't really know that. I just was picking up the phone because I knew we had product coming off the line, fresh flowers, and flowers and pots of plants that had to be sold. Had to get them out the door. We didn't have any sales targets. There was nothing. There was pretty much nothing, So I had this freedom to sort of create create the business, the sales, and then there was 2 or 3 staff that were under me that I was responsible for coordinating, and that was really cool as well because that gave me a taste of managing people and trying to be a leader. I was a terrible leader, but you're learning all the time. I had to learn to get on with people, and if I wanted them to work hard, well, they had to like and trust me, and I had to communicate well. So it taught me so many valuable lessons looking back, which I probably took for granted. I didn't know I was really learning all this stuff, and because I wasn't reading business books, I wasn't doing any courses. I was just literally learning on the fly, learning from making mistakes every day. And then, so to answer your question, the first business was called Earthscape, which was a landscaping company. So we did design. So I did a little correspondence course on landscape design, and that sort of got me into design. And then it kind of went from just doing designing gardens and then actually going out and doing the planting jobs and putting, preparing the gardens and putting the mulch in the gardens and blah, blah, blah. And then I started leading into things like, paving and concreting and, hard landscaping as well. So then I started, I hired my first 6 months into the business, hired my first guy called Pete. He was in his late 50s, I think, maybe early 60s at the time. Bless him. He was, he was an interesting fellow, but, so I had no idea how to recruit people and, so...
making all the classic mistakes.
We go down a massive rabbit hole with this. Anyway, carry on.
No. So I love it because you're just doing the best you can, and I want to iterate something when you're like, now you as an experienced person, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I as a 17-year-old was actually responsible for 50% or more of the revenue that came in for the business. It sounds all fancy. Most of my listeners well, not that they're that fancy, but most of my listeners are going to relate to that. And I'm going to say that most people have no clue. They're not paying any attention. And they don't, that may be their job. They may be the owner, or they may be the 17-year-old or 20-year-old running the business. They have no clue that that's actually what they're responsible for, even today.
Yeah.
And one of the things
Yeah.
I always like to harken back to, because I'm talking about me when I say this, is that most people got into business because they were a good baker, but they don't know
Yeah.
shit about running a bakery.
Yeah, totally. They don't know about business, right? They're
They
not
don't know
great business
business.
people.
Versus
Yeah.
me and you probably now, I can run any bakery. I don't know anything about baking, and I don't need to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you can coordinate that well, so it's this new skill set that is almost you learn about. But maybe it's 5 years in, maybe it's 15 years in, or 30 years in that you're like, oh, I should probably know about these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's funny. Okay, so you're making the mistakes. You said at the time you're not a good leader, or maybe you weren't a good leader. You hired this guy. He may or may not have been good. That's not where you're at today. Today, you're very successful. You're really involved in the 2-second lean community. You're the leader of the Kiwis as far as anyone's concerned. Number 1 2-second lean company in New Zealand. What was the it moments? And we'll get into that success here in a little bit. But what was the it moment that caused you to pivot from like I'm just running a business, or I'm drifting, floating through business ownership, and what caused you to be like, oh, there's this thing, and this is how you run businesses?
Yeah, it's a good question, Hugh. So there's a few ways to answer this. One is I was like with my coaching, so I do obviously tons of business coaching around all around the world, actually, especially focused on 2-second lean, but also sales coaching and marketing coaching and things like that. But my huge passion is spreading the 2-second lean, methodology, and helping businesses set that up and get that off the ground all around the world. It's amazing. Right now I'm working with a guy in Barbados, working with several people in Australia, working with people in Canada, the UK, like all over. It's so fun. Like, you're getting to, in America, you get to meet and chat with people that I've, would otherwise have never have met. And that's been thanks to what we've done with our lean journey, and then obviously paying it forward. And of course, we've been put on the global stage now through the AME tours, the virtual AME tours, which have gone, thousands of views on those. And they've helped to really spread our message, which has been incredible. But the pivotal moment, well, there's a few. One was when I started reading business books, and that's one huge lesson, I would say. Like, I was 10 years into business, or maybe more, before I realized the power and the magic of reading, good quality business books, because you don't know what you don't know. And I did not even understand that principle, right? It was just like, when I look back now, that's one of the first things I'll draw on a whiteboard for people is like, I'll draw the big circle and say, this is you right now. This is what you know in life right now. But outside of that, you don't know what you don't know. There's all the stuff you don't even know that you don't know. Like, it sounds simple, but I had no concept of that. It was just crazy. And so when I looked at it, I thought, wow, actually, yeah. So I thought I was doing okay. I thought I was running the business okay. And I was learning a little bit from external courses. I'd go into a sales course, and I'd go into a marketing course, like a day course or a half-day course. I'd go and do, so I did quite a bit of that, or operations course, but I never, and it's crazy because as a kid, I was a bookworm. Like, I was just reading and reading all the time. Like, kids, mostly novels. It wasn't like, and I guess a bit of a mixture of true stories and lots of fiction. But then I dropped that. I dropped that habit for some reason, and so I went right through my early work years, and I was only reading for fun. I wasn't reading to learn. So, and then I came across this book. It was called How to Get 100 Ways to Gain an Unfair Advantage in Your Business, or something like that. So I started reading. I was like, wow, this is cool. I'm going to try this. So I started trying stuff out of this book, and then we came across the story about Zappos and their crazy culture first mentality. This was 2015, and so I was like, wow, let's just basically chuck everything in the rubbish that we've ever been doing and give this a go. Putting culture first. And so we spread that around our team. And so it was a very pivotal moment. And then our culture went from blame and, blaming the person instead of the process, which of course nowadays it's all about blaming the process instead of the person. It was a blame culture, a pretty nasty, pretty average culture. And there's probably only a handful of leaders in the business or managers that were actually...
I want to interrupt you for a second because I just love what you just said. So I don't know. I know that you probably just glazed over it because I also glaze over it. You said it's a blame culture. Yeah. And it's a terrible, toxic blame culture, and it's just average like every other culture. I love it that you're like, the norm is it's a blame culture and terrible. Yeah. Yeah. So all you have to, it's normal. And I came from that, from all the organizations. So when you are slightly, you don't have to be epic, you don't have to be awesome company, which you will get if you can do two-second lean properly. But you started with just don't be a blame culture slightly, and you're head and shoulders above that. But anyways, continue.
No, good point. And boom, so we went literally overnight. We went from, because we watched a couple of little video clips of the Zappos culture, and so I got a few of it, like our customer service team leader Alison, she was great, and a guy called Brett that was in the company is a good guy, and all these, got a few of the leadership team in and said, check this out, and we're like, okay, let's give this a go. And so I said, the only rules are cheap and cheerful, but let's have some fun. Let's make work fun instead of grey and corporate and boring, which is kind of how we thought was the way to run a business, So next day I come in and there's like streamers hanging from the ceiling, and there's Nerf gun fights, and there's scooters, and like they'd gone out to the warehouse, which is like a cheap and cheerful big box store, retail store, sort of like Walmart, but a much smaller version. They got and bought some cheap stuff and really decorated the office. And suddenly, just like overnight, the whole atmosphere changed. And there's customers ringing in and saying, "Hey, what's all that noise in the background?" And there's people laughing like, "Oh, someone's just shot someone." And like the customers were getting in on the game as well. It was incredible. And then so we had a whole year of culture transformation. And we didn't do everything right, of course, so it was a very lumpy journey. Like we had some highs and some lows, and then people that left the business because they were just taking the mickey. And so probably, we would have lost maybe 20% of people over that and replaced it with, culture fits, because we started hiring based on core values instead of just hiring anyone who came along, and everything changed, So we learned a lot, and then we won New Zealand's Best Workplace of the Year award in 2016, which was just unreal. So it was a huge moment because we came from nowhere, and there was companies that competition had been running for 17 years, the IBM Connexa competition, Best Workplace, and we were up against, all the best companies with the best cultures in New Zealand. We came in, took out our category, which was a small to medium-sized business, and then took out the whole overall prize, all based on the world-class IBM Connexa questions. And it's an anonymous survey, right? So we got like a score of 98% employee engagement, which is the highest they'd ever seen in the history of the competition. So we went from like crap culture in 2015 to like world class. And then I started, like, people started calling me saying, "Oh, can you help us?" And so I started turning up at events and doing keynote speeches. I did a few for free, and then I thought, hey, I might as well charge for this. So I started charging for them and started doing conferences, being the keynote speaker at different conferences. And it was crazy. And then, so that was a huge pivotal point. And then the next pivotal point was we were riding really high on success. And then we had a massive challenge in manufacturing. We had our wet cast factory, which is next door to where I am right now, and which is making wet cast paving. We were churning out about, 60 tons a day, maybe 100 tons a day in there at the time. And we wanted to automate more, so we invested, and we didn't do our homework right. It was just a disaster from start to finish looking back. So we learned a lot of good lessons, valuable lessons, but we didn't scope it right. We didn't work with the right people, and it was a disaster. The whole project went like $1 million over budget, which back then was a massive deal. And then we went like another $1 million over in stock, which was useless, rework. It was defective stock. And so this our big yard was just piling up with crap, and our customers were screaming at us, and we nearly lost our biggest customers, our multi-million dollar reseller customers, the likes of Mitre 10 and Bunnings and some of these amazing customers that we've got. And and that's when a friend came through to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, just randomly said, hey, have you read this book called 2 Second Lean? Because I hadn't told anyone we're having these problems, because, the company knew, we all knew, everyone was, we were working 6 days, 7 days. It was unreal. It was just like looking back. I wrote a chapter about it actually in Paul's book, The Impact of 2 Second Lean. So if you're interested in the story, it's in there. It's so I laid it out really, quite clearly in that book if you want to listen to it or read it. Anyway, so yeah, and then so I read the book, and then I got the audio version, and I was listening to it in and out of work, on the way to work each day, and then during the day, and I just started implementing those principles just straight away. I was like, man, this is our lifeline, So we got the morning meeting back off the ground, which had kind of drifted away, and we reinvigorated the agenda, and we started rotating the morning meeting leadership, and then away we went. And just, I just got on the ground in there, and I was doing 6-7 days a week, on the forklift, on the broom. I'd come home just black, just covered in dust and just grime each day. And that went on for about 3 months, but we nearly went broke. And in 3 months, we turned it back around into a profitable situation. So without that, I honestly reckon, I don't know, we may not be having this we probably wouldn't be having this conversation today. Honestly, it was a massive pivot.
No, I love it. So this is kind of what I'm hearing. and this is very, very common for when I talk to companies who went 2-second lean and then been successful with it, and they became a 2%er, is they had something. So when I found 2-second lean, I was Googling how to save failing business. That's what I was like, what do I do? I'm completely screwed. And,
this was the business you were running in China, wasn't it?
This was the business we were running in China. Yep. And so the manufacturing was in China, the sales and kind of headquarters was in the United States, but all the stuff, anyone that did anything in China, and still that way today. And there just wasn't much thought to like operations or anything like that. So my dad had died. He was the guy that was watching that stuff. He had died like, let's say I would have come back 2017. He would have passed away in 2014. Wow. And so 3-4 years, no one's paying attention at all. It's just spinning its wheels. And so that's when I showed back up to the business, I was just like Googling like how to save failing business, what to do. And it was very, very similar. And what I love too is you said that within a 3-month period, you guys were close to going bankrupt. You had all these nice things going on. You were like, we won the best workplace and, all this great stuff that's stacked over the last 4 or 5 years. But what mattered at the end of the day wasn't any of that stuff. It was you were about to go bankrupt and
running out of cash.
You're running out of cash, and things would have gotten pretty dire. It was implementing 2-second lean that really kind of turned it around for the operation side to actually execute. The execution saved the day because you were probably executing with defects, it sounded like. And it wasn't crazy. Like when we talk about, we implemented 2-second lean, people think there's a magic pill. You get the team involved, you have a morning meeting, and you just focus on quality, and you just do that over long periods of time. So I love it. It sounds like you guys are kind of right there, and you turn your business around. It went from almost going bankrupt to really being in a fantastic position today.
Yeah, getting it back on track. Yeah, so that was a massive pivot because we'd tried lean in the past, right? We'd had lean consultants and we'd given it a go and we'd made some improvements, but the culture never changed. And until we read Paul's book, which obviously really simplifies lean, right? It takes this big idea of lean, which freaks people out with, flow charts and, lots of
tack time and blah, blah, blah.
All the things. And it just simplifies it right down, right? So we go from 5S to 3S, sweep, sort, standardize. Cool. Our team can remember that. They can understand it. We can put it into practice every day. The morning meeting, keep it short and simple, 15 minutes. Here's the agenda. Start with some great news. Share our problems from the day before. So it's a positive meeting. We're solving problems together. Then we watch a video in that meeting of, some improvements on Paul Acker's channel. So showing them examples, and then out we go. We have improvement time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And the first, here's a cool fact for you, Hugh. In the first week of implementing 2-second lean, the very first week, we asked everyone, we said, here's the principle, here's what we're going to do every day. Everyone's going to make one tiny improvement that's going to save just 2 seconds in a process, right? Set the bar really low, and that's what 2-second lean's all about. Everyone can jump over that bar. It's so simple. It makes improvement so simple. Fix what bugs you, remove the struggle, At the end of the week, we added up. We'd actually saved 12 hours of process time in 1 week, So straight away, we're like, wow, this is phenomenal. Because we're looking at our processes with whole new eyes. We're looking at our business with whole new eyes. We're like, where's the waste? So we learned the 8 lean waste. Everyone learned them off by heart within, a couple of weeks. The 8 lean waste, everyone can still recite them here today. We make between 100 to 200 improvements across the business every single week. And this is what we train businesses to do all around the world. It's phenomenal.
Can you give some examples of the improvements you make? Because so many people hear that. They're like, oh my gosh, there's these super successful people and they're making all these improvements. Can you just give like the normal, like what's the bar? What's the improvement people are making?
The first step is remove clutter out of your workspaces. So like you teach people 3S, sweep, sort, standardize. Okay, so look around your office right now. I can look around the studio right now and I can see about 10 things that I could improve, straight after this podcast. Things that should be hanging on the wall so you make it easy to vacuum. There's a simple one. Get everything off the floor. Put everything on wheels. So you start to put your desk on and your chairs and put everything on wheels so it's movable, it's flexible, so you can shift stuff around, nothing's stuck. Some very simple things you can do. Throw out all the stacks of paper on your desk. If you haven't touched them for 6 months, what the hell are they doing there? Chuck them all in the bin. Like start in each day. And here's the thing: what freaks people out. They go, I don't know where to start. I just say, okay, start with your desk for a start, because a clear desk equals a clear mind, a clear head. So start with your desk.
Just the top of your
desk.
And
just do 15 minutes.
The full desk.
Whatever, yeah. And just do 15 minutes to clear up your desk. And then tomorrow, and then take a photo of it. And that's your new walkaway standard. Put that up on the wall, and that's your walkaway standard. That's how it should look. Every time you walk away from your desk, it should look like this. And tomorrow, that could get better again. So you can improve the improvement, and people get stuck that, I'll take a photo, but yeah, tomorrow I might improve it again. Sweet as, rip the photo down, put another one up. You're setting a new standard, so you're raising the bar. Like it's simple stuff, but it takes discipline, and you got to do it every single day of the week, and do it at home, do it at work, do it in your health, do it in every area of life. And then you go, okay, once you've done your desk, I say to people, pull out your top drawer in your office. It's probably a shambles. Pull that out and make that your next improvement. And you might only have 10 minutes today, but just do 10 minutes of chucking stuff out. And then tomorrow, it might take you a whole week to finish your top drawer. Doesn't matter. At least you've done 10 minutes a day and you're moving in the right direction. Don't freak out. That's what people do. They throw up their hands and they just leave and they put it off. They put it off and they put it off.
Even if you're listening to this and you're a guy or gal who's, let's say you're middle management somewhere. So many people are like, well, I can't get my boss to buy in. Just do it to your desk. It's just you. Or if you're like, I'm a team lead, I have two people that report to me.
Don't worry about your boss. Don't worry about your boss. If he's not going to buy in or she's not going to buy in, who cares? If you become a lean all-star, you'll go down the road and someone will hire you in an instant. At our business, if you walk in and knock on the door and say, I'm a lean all-star, I make improvements every day, mate, you're hired. You are hired. How many people come and knock on your door and say that? Nobody. Maybe 0.1% of people in this world. It's crazy. It's crazy. So,
what is up? We are interrupting the show to give you a word from our sponsor, which is us. We're sponsoring ourselves. And so there's two things. The first one is, did you know that we have free lean resources in the top left corner? If you go to hughcarnahan.com, free lean resources or free resources, it'll be in the top left corner. No matter what technology we use in the future, it'll always be that. Also, unrelated, we have a sister podcast. It's called FU Money. If you are interested in money, finance, becoming financially independent, we deep dive into that as well. Go check it out. We're going to go back to the show.
You could be surrounded by waste and surrounded by, crap culture, but if you make it better by one, then it's in your control, right? You can't control your boss, you can't control your workmates, you can't control anything else. There's things you can control and things you can't control. Just focus on what you can do yourself and get it done and just move forward, and you'll crush it in life. Even if you're in the biggest mess right now, you might be working in an absolute dump. You see it, Hugh, but I go around businesses and I see some absolute disasters, like offices with desks piled this high on paper, and literally there's one next door to us, and like I've talked to him about lean. You go back 6 months later, I've given him the book to read, still the same.
Nothing's
not making any change. Nothing's changed. In his life, he'll continue to have struggle, frustration, mistakes, rework, and I love that quote that if you're doing non-value added work, you're shortening your life. Literally. That's scary stuff, but people don't get that. You're looking under that bit of paper, you're shortening your life because you're not adding value. You're struggling for your tools. You're not adding value. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. There's just tons of things that you had just said that's huge, but just starting. So one of my favorite things is Paul Akers, when he first interviewed me, and I was talking with him back and forth, and he came to visit the factory, and this is in China, and one of the first things he ever said, he was like, Hugh, stop. I don't need to see anything else. He said, I've been to 108 countries in the world. I've been to thousands of manufacturing facilities, and this is the most fucked up place I've ever been. And I've been to Kazakhstan. And they don't know any better. You do. This is your fault. And so I was like, I know, Paul, isn't it great? And he was like, what do you mean? He's like, there's nowhere to go but up. We'll either go bankrupt or we're going to go up from here. We were way worse than whatever you just described for that. And I love it because it's so true. On the same note, the same company, the American side, we try to bring 2-second lean with all the success of China. And there was that arrogance and that, it's not for me issue. And I'll never forget it. There was a gentleman, and he was in middle management, lower, upper management. And he was like, we don't need to be doing any of this stuff. We just need to sell more. And I pointed to the guy that I was just talking to, and I was like, he's got to walk 6 steps for every package one way. That's 12 steps round trip. If we were to triple our sales, he's going to do 52 more per day. It's 620 steps times 24 inches, which is the average amount of step. I know it's inches. Imperial divided by 12 is 1,240 feet more per day. That guy's going to walk. No, we shouldn't. We should move. We should make it easier for that guy. And he's like, no,
just sell more. You're going to burn that guy out. And he's going to quit because no one was thinking. And that's the standard crux of it for most people.
Yeah, and that's the problem with most business owners and most managers today is they literally have their employees or their teams just tied up doing dumb, stupid work every day because they are the 8 wastes. You go and watch them, and their team are doing 90% waste, 10% value adding. It's terrible.
Right.
And they can't see it because they can't see waste, and that's what Paul says. The 3 pillars of lean. Number 1, see waste, because if you can't see waste, you can't even begin to improve. Number 2, fix what bugs you or make one tiny improvement at least, 1 per day. And then number 3, take before and after photos or videos so that you can share them on the chat, because we say an improvement's not an improvement until it's shared. You haven't completed the improvement, so share it, because then it inspires others, it keeps the journey going. Trains your people. Like I'm preaching to the converted, but there's 1,000 benefits of sharing that improvement on your group chat every single time.
Well, and I love this too because maybe not so much for you, but when I talk to folks in the UK are like, "Wow, it's so easy for you. You're an American." Well, what the hell does that mean? Like, well, your culture is so open and giving. It's like, no, I work with the same. I work with the same blue collar folks you do, and they have the same bad attitude and same waste.
Same all around the world. It doesn't matter where you go.
People are the same no matter where you go, and it's really all about the people. So
you can go to the poorest village or the richest city, and the 8 wastes are the same.
Yep.
Overproduction, transportation, inventory, excess inventory.
Yep.
Over processing, defects. Wasted motion, wasted waiting time,
and they're just stacked and drop. And everyone's going to behave the same about them because no one sees them. Okay, so I want to go a little bit now. So this is kind of modern day. When did you make the jump or the transition, or maybe not a transition, right? You're doing this on the side, from just helping yourself to going to Premier Business Academy, founding that to kind of help other companies, not just yourself. Good
question. Yeah, good question. So I've always been, like I said at the start, always been surrounded by generous people and givers. In our church, like everyone has got that mindset. Everyone's generous. Everyone will give their time. They'll give their energy. They'll give as much as resources they possibly can to help others, to help their neighbor, to help their friends, to help their family, whatever. So I kind of brought up in that environment, and I think naturally all of us are actually selfish people. Like it's in our DNA. Put yourself first, and I reckon like nowadays we're surrounded by this whole culture of self-love and self-care and I this and I that and iPhone and selfie, and like I personally think it's disgusting. I think it's vile. Like if you look at the happiest people in the world, they're the people that are in the service of others. I go up to our hospital every now and again. I love our hospitals because they're such great examples of public servants who are laying down their life for others. Like you go to a nurse, they're underpaid and overworked, but they're the happiest people, literally, as a group of people that I've ever come across. And they are, they're just, and their whole day is involved in the service of others. And so I say to people like, get out of your own fleeping selfish mindset, and I'm guilty of being stuck in this mindset so much, like poor me, victim, blame, because there's lots of things in my childhood where I can say, well, even though I believe I had an amazing upbringing compared to so many people, but there's still so many things I can say, oh, dad should have taught me this, or mum should have taught me this, or I wasn't treated right here, or wasn't treated right there, or my friends didn't treat me right at school. There's so many things. Anyone can play the victim card or the blame card. Anyone from the toughest upbringing to the best upbringing. And I tell you why I know this is because I've employed people for 20 years, Hugh, like 20 years now, over 20 years, 22 years I've been employing people. And so I've seen all walks of life, and we've employed some of the most underprivileged people. In fact, we do now. And the people in our company, we give everyone a shot at the brass ring. Like no one's excluded. There's no discrimination. Doesn't matter what your skin color is, or your religion, or your background, or whatever. And some of our top leaders in this business have come from the worst upbringings.
Yes.
But guess what? The difference between them and other people in our business and other people in society is that instead of playing the victim card, they take full ownership. They say, I'm responsible for where I am right now. I'm taking full ownership, and I can't change the past, and I'm going to set new goals. I'm going to change my mindset, and I'm going to control what I can control, and I'm going to move forward in a positive direction, and I'm not going to play the victim card. And it's just incredible. And that one mindset shift means we've got someone on, a salary of say $250,000 and lots of other perks, to someone on a salary of 60 or 70,000, and they're just stuck there because they still have that victim mentality. Bless their souls, but until they change their mindset, they are never going to get up. They're never going to grow.
Absolutely. I can't control what happened to me, but I can control how I respond to it.
Totally.
so many
Totally.
people, they don't get that. And I think there's a lot of the same thing you were saying about your early childhood, about how
Yep.
rich people are portrayed as bad. And
Yep.
maybe some less articulate people said, I came from a worse position from you and I've been able to make myself better. So I
Yep.
don't have any remorse for you.
Yep.
Maybe that's kind of where that perception may have came from. But for
Yep.
the most part, most people are pretty giving. Hey, I'll help out. I
Yep.
remember what it's like to be
Yep.
poor. I remember what it's
Yep.
like to work 100 hours
Yep.
a week.
Yep.
And so
But I personally think, yeah, I agree, man. But I personally think it's a pet peeve of mine is that, and I've got, the circles that and people that I chat to all the time agree, is that we're surrounded now, this Western society, by selfish people just thinking about themselves. And that's why we've got so much depression, so much suicide, people just bound up with themselves. I help lots of young people that are going through, depression and suicidal thoughts and stuff. And as soon as I can get them outside of themselves and thinking about others and thinking about their future and the goals, instead of blaming, everything changes. It's like a whole burden getting lifted off them. They're like,
Right.
you've got, it's just a downward spiral. Like, I like to say, let's get you into the upward spiral, which is continuous improvement, growth and learning, doing things for others. And stop thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
Put others first.
Generally,
I'm
folks-
not saying don't be healthy. Like, you've got to set some time aside each day. I put aside 30 to 40 minutes for in the gym and listening to my audiobook at the same time. And that's a non-negotiable habit for me, because I'm not saying that.
Right.
And you could say, oh, that's self-love or self-care. I say BS, because if I do that, I can perform at a higher level.
Right.
And I can serve others at my peak. I can be at my peak to serve others. So I can serve others at a much higher level than if I let myself slip into bad diet, bad exercise habits, or no exercise. So I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying if you are doing that, do it so that you can serve others at a greater level, and you'll get more joy, more pleasure, more happiness. Paul's books, he writes it in Lean Life and 2-Second Lean and Lean Health. It's not all about you. It's all about giving, and you'll have a much better life.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you know it, Hugh, you know it. But I'm just talking to your listeners here. If you're stuck thinking about yourself, you're on the couch watching this video, you're depressed, you've got to start getting outside of, you've got to snap out of it. You've got to change here. No one else is going to do it for you. You can't change your past, and no one else can change your past. It's happened. What happened has happened. You've got to start looking forward. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck, and you're going to get to 70 or 80 or 90, lying on your deathbed going, damn, I've wasted my whole life.
Yep. So true. So true. And so many people, again, I think it's the West. Like, the West, life is so comfortable now that,
Luxury makes us lazy, right?
yeah, luxury makes us lazy. We're so comfortable. We invent problems. Oh, I feel like this, or I feel like that. If you go to, because I grew up in China, right, back and forth between China and the U.S., so I was constantly seeing the both sides of the coin. And the folks back in the 90s in China, it was like, oh, yeah, you hope to eat today. I hope to be able to work 80 hours this week so I can afford to send money home so my parents who raised me can eat.
Yeah.
They don't really have, not that they don't have like depression and stuff, they have a lot of stress, but they don't have like the silly stuff that maybe their kids that are now our age have there.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. I totally agree. And like, I've had people that, people that are obsessed about working with, mental health workers that say to me, oh, you can't tell someone when they're depressed or suicidal. You can't tell them that someone in Ukraine, is getting bombed and someone here. But I say, nah, BS. They need to think outside the square and realize that what they've got, they need to write down a list of all the things they've got in their life that 99% of people around the world don't have. Like I say, I just call the BS. Like, no, I work with depressed people and I know that these things work. Write down 10 things you're grateful for every day. Write down your life goals. There's some simple processes that, because so many of these psychologists are trained to like lean in on all this self-obsessed thing. It's like, scrap it. Scrap it.
It's so funny. I think there's like, I'm in the personal finance blogs and there'll often be people talking about, oh yeah, don't go to Canada or don't go to the United States. Everyone there's so poor. Can't make it with this and that. And the people who are reviewing this, these are people like outside of the United States or outside of Canada who are wanting to come over. They're going to a Western country and they're like, you have these people who are like, I work one job by myself and I can't afford X, Y, Z. Okay, you're living in an apartment with Wi-Fi and air conditioning and heat and cold, and maybe you've overextended yourself and you should have a roommate, or maybe you and your family should be in a smaller house. But to the people who are talking about, oh, we're so poor, we're barely making it, it's a perspective issue, because the people who are wanting to come are like, I didn't have food. We don't have these things. We don't have a vehicle. It's Those people have been sold a perception and an idea that I
Yeah.
need the car, I need the big house,
Yeah.
I need the watch, I need the computer.
Entitlement. And you know, we could talk for hours about this, but this is the problem a lot of our societies in the West have created, the sense of entitlement that I deserve a house, I deserve a car, I deserve a job. Actually, you have to get out and work for those things. Everyone, you know, anyone who's got somewhere in life has had to work their little backsides off to get what they've got. And ditch the entitlement. You don't deserve it. You need to, and there's always someone, like what you say, there's always someone worse off. Always. There's not just one person, there's billions of people worse off.
Right.
You know, so absolutely, mate. And it's mindset. We're talking about mindset here, Hugh. This has gone down a massive rabbit hole. That's great, man. That's great.
No, I think it's so important though, because so many business owners, and they're like, oh, well, what does this have to do with business, small business rescue, or, you know, business academy?
Everything.
Okay, so we're moving on in the interview now for the podcast. We're going to go into the next section, which is uncomfortable money questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, bring it on.
I just have one question for you. I always ask it.
Yeah.
If you got into an accident, let's say it's a coma or something, and you couldn't respond, you couldn't even give somebody your password to go do something, right? You're awake, you're fine, but you know, you're in an accident temporarily. How long could your business or family survive? And what are you doing about it?
It's a great question, man. I should think about this more, but I don't. So that's a massive question. It's a pretty scary one. So the business I believe the business culture, like when I can go away for almost as long as I want, and I can just check in on our chat, and the improvements just keep coming. The business will keep improving, and it's outgrown me. It doesn't, and that's what I've always tried to build, a business that doesn't rely on me. A culture-driven business, not an owner-driven business. And that's one thing, if you're listening to this right now and you're a small business owner, the lowest value business is an owner-driven business. And you want to drive your business value up to an investment-grade business. So you go owner-driven, and then you go people-driven, and then you go systems-driven, and then you go culture-driven. And I believe that's where we are right now. We're a culture-driven business. So I think I'm confident that would keep moving forward, Hugh, because we've got the mission, the vision, the values, all that's very clear. The 14 principles, which we borrowed off Toyota and made our own. You know, we've got these clear guiding principles that, you know, that help with everyone with their decision making every day. And growth and learning here is phenomenal. You know, it's all about growing people. So every day people are learning. We could talk about that for hours too. And then, but for family, I need to do a better job of that. That's a great question, man.
I love it.
So you've called me off the tide out, you know?
Well, it's a little interesting. The reason I challenge you is you're pretty close to an investment grade. And a small biz rescue, and you know what? This might be the first one we keep. I'm going to say, think like an investor. I built my wealth through investing, but I applied basic principles, 2-second lean principles to investing, and that's where I got where I'm at. And now I'm helping other businesses behave, but really it's thinking like an investor. And so you sound like you're pretty close, that you have a culture-driven company. That if you were in a coma, in theory, you should continue to be getting paid by your company because your company can operate indefinitely without you.
Correct, yeah.
Now, is that truly true? You probably need to have like maybe some accounting controls and some, you know, checks and balances, and can they pay payroll? So for me, to answer that question, my company would implode instantly. One pay period, it would implode because we're a small team. But in perpetuity, the family side is taken care of because of just the way the systems and accounts are set up.
Yeah.
So when you think like an investor, it's how do you place key personnel and key processes to operate it for you?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, if you're a small business owner, a lot of people, like I said, the baker who doesn't know how to run a bakery, you'll call him Joe's Pizza if you want. Well, guess what, Joe's Pizza? If Joe doesn't show up to work, I don't know anything about Joe's Pizza, but usually Joe's Pizzas and, you know, companies like it, if Joe doesn't show up, then things are going poorly, which means Joe owns a job and he doesn't own a company.
Yeah.
And Joe needs to make it to where
without Joe, it's gone burger or gone pizza.
Exactly. So so Joe needs to grow that. I mean, maybe you keep the name, but it needs to be a company that actually exists with people who can independently think, and execute without you.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. I totally agree. Yes, our payroll would carry on. All of our functions would carry on. But family, there's plenty. I mean, there's huge family support. So I'm confident that would be well taken care of as well. But it's a really powerful question for listeners. That's great.
And we ask it because we want the listeners to be asking. All right.
Yeah, it's great.
Future calls to action. What's one thing you wish yourself, your younger self, 18-year-old you, would have known that you don't know, that you know now that you wish you would have known when you were 18?
Okay. My top 10 business books. If I'd read those at 18, I would be, honestly, I'm not kidding, I'd probably be 100x ahead of where we are now.
Okay.
Literally. As soon as I started reading, and then honestly, it just opens the mind so much. It was like fresh light dawning, and it's like what do they call it, an epiphany, So and now I read a book a week, right? I use Audible, and I listen to about a book a week, so about 50 books a year, and some books I re-listen to once a year, like 2 Second Lean is one of those. It's like a staple diet, and books like Scaling Up and Good to Great and Great Game of Business, and some of those, honestly, man, I would say 100x. So that would be a huge thing if I had my time again. It would be, I wish someone had said to me, Bernard,
the Great Game of Business was written by a guy in my town.
In your town, yeah, Jack Stack.
Jack Stack, yeah.
He's a good lad.
Yeah.
And amazing. So that's a great book, and I read that one probably.
So what do you say your top 10 books? What are they, real quick? We'll link them below for the listeners.
Top 10, I mean, in no particular order, would be like 2 Second Lean, Lean Health. Let's rattle off Paul's books first. Banish Sloppiness and Fall in Love with Precision. Lean Life, Improvement Starts with I, Scaling Up, Great Game of Business, Good to Great, Built to Last. What's another real ripper? There's got to be one more in the top 10 off the top of my head. We've got a solid list that we use at Premier Group for our training, but we've even got it on a matrix for all our people. They have to go through every book.
I love it.
Anyway, so we can track it all. The other one might be, I don't know, someone has to be the most expensive. Why don't make it you? Or what's another real classic? Oh, Maverick by Ricardo Semler. That was a real good one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's 10. I could probably give you. Man, I'd probably rather give you 20.
And I'll leave you with a book because I think it actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna write this down. Yeah. What is it?
So the book is called The Gap and the Gain, and it's about how you measure. It's mindset based.
The gap in the gain.
Gap and the gain.
The gap and the gain.
So many people, like business owners or high performing achievers, they're never satisfied. They're never happy. That's good, right? You have that positive pressure, but a lot of people are like truly miserable because they're like, when I get to $10,000 a month, I'll be happy. And then you're there like, you know what? It really needs to be 15,000 or 12,000.
Yeah.
You're always moving the goalpost. Yeah. And so the gap and the gain teaches you how to remeasure how far you've come as opposed to how far you're going. And we'll link that down below.
Awesome. I like that because one of the things I always say to our people is a lean thinker is positively dissatisfied. So you always want more, you want more improvement, but you have to have a certain level of positivity and a certain level of, hey, we've achieved something, we've achieved great things, but there's lots more to do. So that's awesome. I need to read that. I've never read it. Who's it by?
It's not behind me. I had it.
Yeah, okay. You let me know.
We'll link it. Okay, so you've kind of answered a lot of the questions. So you've answered 3 questions in one. So, but okay. I was just going to make an anecdote. So the most successful people I know, personal success, investors, right? Either they're really, really savvy investors or they're big business owners. You've experienced it. I started doing it and my life completely transformed as well, is we read, or in my case, listen. So learning continuously is life-changing. And so if you are listening to this and you're not someone who listens or reads, I didn't know I could learn because I've severe ADHD. A book is like cheating. Like Jack Stack. Jack Stack, he's like 84. He's in my town. A great book of business is what Bernard was just talking about. He's in New Zealand. This guy, Jack Stack, wrote a book about little old some baloney town where I'm at in Missouri. That's helping people across the world, and it's 8
What's your town called?
Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, yeah. And that's where International Harvester is, right?
Yeah. Well, no, they don't exist anymore, but yes.
Oh, they don't. Okay. There you go.
And so he put 80 years of work. Paul's 5 books, which are teeny tiny books, by the way, are all of Paul's life in 100 pages that you can cheat.
Yeah. They help you compress time, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Compress time. And that's why, that's probably my biggest, I don't like to try not to live on, with regrets at all, because you got to look forward. But a big regret is, man, 20 years ago, if I'd started reading, or, 20 years ago or more, and started reading those books, I would have been, unbelievable.
Huge. I love it.
I'd hate to think,
Okay. All right. So I was going to ask for a resource, but you gave 10 resources, and it sounds like you wish they would read. So that's the action.
Oh, yeah. If you're 20 years old right now, or 18 years right now, and you do what we're saying, you guys, you're going to blow up. Your life's going to be incredible.
You're going to destroy us. Do you think we're
You're going to whip us.
Yeah, we're nothing compared to you, because you got time on your side.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can our listeners find out more about you? Or if I'm a Kiwi and I'm like, man, this guy sounds great, I want to give him all my money because he's the guy to teach me.
I'm not after your money. I just want to give you some life tips or some tips that will help you, compress time. Like just shortcut. Don't make all the stupid mistakes I've made. That's the key, right?
So where can folks find out more about you?
Okay, go to premierbusinessacademy.co.nz. Just jump on there, premierbusinessacademy.co.nz. Get on the homepage. There's 4 free resources. There's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. So just click on that and subscribe. And there's just always fresh content, helpful content on there to help you improve your business and your life, not just business. Mindset, all sorts of really, and it's short and powerful and really, we get great feedback on that stuff. Then there's the Motivational Monday, which is an email that comes out every Monday. It's just a really good little boost for your week ahead. There's the Business Success Thursday email, which comes out on a Thursday, obviously. No surprises there. And then there's the podcast, which you can subscribe to that as well. So there's 4 resources. And then we've got tons of old recordings of webinars that have really helped people grow their businesses. And you're welcome to send me a message on WhatsApp. Don't email me, by the way. I don't use email. WhatsApp me, and you can contact me through the website. And that way you can ask me questions, and I'm happy to help you with your biggest problems. Some businesses, I've got quite a few clients now that pay me money to give them help at a deeper level. But 99% of what I do, Hugh, is for free.
That's incredible. I love it. Well, Bernard, do you have any last parting advice for our listeners before we hop off this podcast?
We could talk all day, Hugh. This has been you've asked great questions, man. It's awesome. So I really appreciate you having me on. I reckon, just get obsessed with growth and learning. You don't know what you don't know. Be grateful every day. That's really important. Write down 10 things you're grateful for. That's something I wish I had done again 20 years ago as a habit. It's in my diary now. We've got these amazing diaries, by the way, called the Premier Business Academy Diary. They are incredible, and they've got a space to write down what you're grateful for, a space to write down your life goals. Actually, you can buy these on our website. They're a life changer. If you're not managing your time properly right now, these are an absolute game changer. Yeah, learn, be grateful, be humble, stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about others. Yeah, just the simple ones. Pay it forward as much as you can. Get involved in the service of others. One thing I love to say is that none of us, I challenge everyone when I do a keynote speech or whatever, I always challenge the audience. I say, who in this room would be here today without this unselfish service of someone else? There's just no one. You can't get anywhere in life without the service of others, uplifting service. So that's why I say service is really the greatest honor, or the highest honor. So don't think of it as menial, think of it as the highest honor, because you've been served by the midwife when you were first born, the doctors, nurses, your mum, your dad, your teachers, the fire brigade, the police department, all these people, person that picks up your rubbish. And just get into the habit of, when you see the rubbish man, say thanks for your service. You'll make his day. Like think you don't think like this, but I mean most people don't, but you've got to change your thinking. So anyway, it all starts here, doesn't it, Hugh? Yep. Toyota says great thinking equals great products. Average thinking equals average life. Great thinking equals great life. Simple stuff.
That's powerful stuff. Awesome. Well, guys, we have more information linked below. If you want to find out more, check the description however you're consuming this. And Bernard, thanks for being on. Thanks.
Hey, thanks you. Let's do more of these, man. This is so fun. We could do lots of different subjects together. I reckon, we could really dive deep on, 2-second lead and mindsets and sales and marketing, all sorts of cool things if you want to. Love to do more if you can.
I think it'd be a blast. All right. We'll see you.